Hello guys! In this video, we are here to discuss about beep codes and the parts of a motherboard. So let's begin in discussing about the beep codes and its function.
First of all, lahat ng computer natin ay nagkakaroon ng mga problema. At kung nagka-problema man ang ating computer, nagbi-beep ito. Doon na pumapasok ang beep codes. Marami tayong mako-consider na beep codes. Why we encounter some beeping of our computers? Nakaka-encounter tayo nito dahil nagkaka-problema ang ating computer. Mostly hardware-related problems, gaya ng RAM, graphics card at CPU na matatagpuan sa motherboard ng computer. At dahil dito, nakakatulong ang beep codes. Every BIOS and motherboard manufacturer has their own set of beep codes that will try to let us know kung ano ang hardware component ang nagmamalfunction sa loob ng computer natin. What is beep codes? A beep code is a type of signal provided by a personal computer during boot process. Most beep codes are related to a power-on self-test, where a beep code helps show end users that there is a hardware problem preventing a normal operation. Gaya ng sabi ko kanina, a beep code help us to recognize what part of hardware ang nagmamalfunction sa computer natin. Usually, nag-execute lang ang pagbibip ng computer natin tuwing nagpa-power on self-test tayo o ang pause. This pause is a way of checking that everything is running in a very good shape every time to boot your computer. Kumbaga, ini-scan niya ang buong hardware at system ng computer natin kung may problema. At kung nagka-problema man, ito ay magbibip. Magbibip ito ng ilang beses. Depende sa problema at doon na papasok ang ating beep codes. So, let's proceed to the beep codes and their meanings. First beep code. 1 beep. Refresh failure. Reset replace memory. So this 1 beep code, having a problem accessing the system memory or the RAM to refresh it. Because in computer, refreshing is done on all system memory to keep the system and its contents to be stable. So we recommend that you diagnose and troubleshoot the computer system memory dun sa mismong motherboard nito. 2 beeps. Parity error. Reset replace memory, troubleshoot motherboard. So these 2 beeps having your computer a parity failure means that results from irregular changes to data as it is recorded when it is entered in memory. Itong mga parity errors na ito ang dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng system errors, naglalag at nagka-crash ang ating mga computers. 3 beeps. Memory error. First 64 KB. Reset replace memory. These 3 beeps basically means that there is a failure of the first 64 KB of system memory. It is possible that there is a failure of RAM in the motherboard. 4 beeps. Timer failure. Troubleshoot motherboard. So these 4 beeps meaning that there is a problem with one or more timers used by the system to control functions on the motherboard. Itong mga timer na ito, ginagamit for timing and counting operations so that the processors will carry out other tasks while the timer process runs. Kaya this is a motherboard needs to be fixed. 5 beeps. Processor failure. Troubleshoot CPU, motherboard. So this 5 beeps means that the system processor or CPU is having an error condition, recommending to reset the processor and boot up again. 6 beeps. Keyboard controller failure. Troubleshoot keyboard in the motherboard. So these 6 beeps means that the keyboard controller is malfunctioning on the motherboard. Kung hindi man ito masolusyonan, maaring hindi mag-function ang keyboard ng inyong computer. 7 beeps. Virtual mode exception error. Troubleshoot CPU in the motherboard. These 7 beeps means that the system is reporting an error when testing this mode. 8 beeps. Display memory failure. Troubleshoot graphics card in the motherboard. These 8-bit codes means that the BIOS is unable to write to the frame buffer memory on the video card. This means that nagmamalfunction ang video card at graphics card natin. So it recommends that troubleshoot the graphics card in the motherboard. 9 beeps. ROM BIOS checksum failure. Replace ROM BIOS troubleshoot motherboard. So this 9 beeps means it indicates an issue with the BIOS chip on the motherboard. This checksum is compared against the values in the ROM each time the PC is booted, and if there is a mismatch, magbibip ito ng 9 na beses. That's because yung ROM is napaloob dun yung BIOS program, then uses a checksum value as a double check that the ROM code is correct. 10 beeps. CMOS shutdown register failure. Troubleshoot motherboard. This 10 beeps means that a component of the motherboard is producing an error interacting with the CMOS memory that hold the BIOS settings. So it is recommended to troubleshoot the motherboard and check that CMOS. 11 beeps. L2 cache failure. Troubleshoot L2 cache motherboard. This usually means a problem with the system cache. It may also be a more general problem with the motherboard. And lastly, continuous beeps memory or video failure. Troubleshoot memory, graphics card, and motherboard. This kind of beeping most don't have a pattern or number of beeps. Kumbaga, dire-diretso lang. So it is recommended to troubleshoot the motherboard, especially the expansion cards and the memory slots.
Now, we are about to discuss about the motherboard. Expansion slot. First is the PCI or Peripheral Component Interconnect. PCI is a local computer bus for attaching hardware devices in a computer and is a part of the PCI local bus standard. Next is PCI Express. It's like the PCI, but it is a high-speed serial expansion bus standard designed to replace the older PCI, PCI-X, and AGP bus standard. And the last one is AGP or Accelerated Graphics Port. It was designed as a high-speed point-to-point channel for attaching a video card to a computer system, primarily to assist in the acceleration of 3D computers' graphics. And next is a graphics card. The Graphic Processing Unit, GPU, also called graphics card or video card, is a specialized electronic circuit that accelerates the creation and rendering of images, video, and animations. It performs fast math calculation while freeing the CPU to perform other tasks. There are two kinds of graphics card. One is an integrated or embedded GPU that lives directly on and shares memory with the CPU. And the other one is a discrete GPU that has its own card and memory. The GPU is an extremely important component of gaming system, in many cases even more crucial than the CPU when it comes to playing certain types of games. Next is sound card. What is sound card? A sound card is an expansion to your computer that lets it send audio data to the device like your headphones or speakers. You may sometimes see the sound card referred to as an audio card, sound adapter, or audio adapter. Rectangular in shape, the sound card has numerous connections on the bottom of it, as well as multiple ports on each side, so it can be connected to speakers and headphones. As well as knowing what is sound card, you need to know how it's installed. The sound card is installed onto a computer motherboard via the PCI slot. Because the computer motherboard Its case and other cards are designed to be compatible. The way a sound card fits onto the motherboard exposes its sides, so that you can easily access the ports, plug in your speakers. Many sound cards will have ports for other devices, such as a microphone, a joystick, and auxiliary devices, as well as the speakers. There are even more advanced sound cards available that comes with input and output ports for other uses, such as professionals audio output and audio editing. I will also discuss about a Bluetooth card. Bluetooth card is a technology for wireless communication over short distances. It's often used in computers to communicate with wireless keyboards, mic, and printers. The great advantage of a Bluetooth card over other wireless technologies is that it is extremely simple to add device to a PAN with just a few clicks, thereby making them interactive. Interactive device can swap files, photos, or music, synchronize data, or send prints job to a Bluetooth. Last is a network card. A network either allows one or multiple computers to connect to each other in a local area network, LAN, or it allows them to connect to the internet in a wide area network, WAN. Some networks are configured to allow both.
An electric fan that blows hot air out of a computer case, AV equipment case, or other electronic equipment. More than one fan is often used, and the combination of case fans, power supply fan, heat sinks, and CPU coolers comprise the cooling system. A backplane system is a group of electrical connectors in parallel with each other, so that each pin of each connector is linked to the same relative pin of all the other connectors, forming a computer bus. A backplane uses plug-in cards for storage and processing. A heatsink is a passive heat exchanger that transfers the heat generated by an electronic or a mechanical device to a fluid medium, often air or a liquid coolant, where it is dissipated away from the device, thereby allowing regulation of the device's temperature.
The inductor is also called a coil, choke, or reactor. Basically, ang inductor ay isang passive element na nag-store siya ng energy to its magnetic field in the form of current, and after some time, i-release niya ito para magamit ng ibang element sa isang circuit. It consists of a coil of conducting wire, and inductor ay hindi niya inaalaw ang alternating current to flow through it, but inaalaw niya ang direct current na mag-flow through inductor. Ang capacitor ay isang passive element na nag-i-store ng energy. It is electric field. Ang capacitor ay binubuo ng dalawang conducting plates separated by insulator. Maraming gamit ang capacitor at mayroon itong iba't ibang uri based sa application nito. It can be used in decoupling, filtering, power regulations, crystal circuit, and more. Ang CPU socket ay connector sa pagitan ng CPU at sa motherboard. If a CPU is connected via CPU socket, it is not soldered and can therefore be replaced. May iba-ibang klase ang CPU socket. Meron itong tinatawag na compatibility na dapat ay compatible ito sa isang component. Ang old CPU ay mayroon o gumagamit ng pin grid array or PGA. Ang mga modern CPU naman ay gumagamit ng long grid array. Ibig sabihin nito ay yung mga pin na dati nasa CPU ay ngayon nasa motherboard na.
A memory slot or RAM slot allows RAM to be inserted into the computer. Most motherboards have 2 or 4 memory slots, depends on what type of RAM to be inserted and what type of motherboard. North bridge, an integrated circuit responsible for communication between the CPU and the parts of the motherboard. South bridge is an integrated circuit responsible for the I/O or input and output functioning like mouse, keyboard, and printers, and also integrated hardware such as expansion slots and expansion cards. The difference of the two is the north bridge is directly connected to the CPU, while the south bridge is not. Because the south bridge is connected to the CPU via the north bridge and do its role. So the north bridge acts as a connector for the south bridge.
So that's it for our discussion. Thank you for listening, guys. Please like and share and subscribe, guys. Bye.